What's up guys, this is Seth from TechShift, and today I want to talk to you about the Dvorak keyboard layout. It's the shit! The Dvorak keyboard, quick little overview, was invented by Dr. August Dvorak. He designed the keyboard layout that was supposed to replace the QWERTY keyboard layout in terms of efficiency and typing speed. And though he didn't technically succeed, I've undergone the process and I've converted myself to the Dvorak keyboard layout a few years ago. And I want to give you some thoughts on this little experiment that I went through. So the Dvorak keyboard is designed to have most of the vowels on the left hand, so that helps you alternate hands while typing. This is important as while you're typing on a QWERTY keyboard, your hands don't really move as much. The left hand moves more than the right hand, which doesn't help alternating fingers. Why did I choose to learn a new layout? Why didn't I just improve my existing QWERTY speed? Well, first off, I didn't know how to touch type. I typed with two or three fingers on each hand, and I want to make use of all 5 fingers. Having less tools in my arsenal made me wonder, I'm already typing really shitty on the QWERTY keyboard layout. Plus, I was only typing about 30 or so words per minute. That's my max speed. That is like really bad. And also, I was looking down on the keys. Like, I'm looking down while typing. So, if I made an error, I wouldn't know until I looked up, which is a waste of time because you can continue to type, or you can type a password and not realize that you're not in the input box. That was an issue for me. I wanted to start over from scratch, wipe the slate clean, and learn Dvorak. So that's what I did. If you don't have any patience, if you're that kind of person that wants to jump in and thinking that you're gonna be really good at this, this probably is not the right venture for you. But for me, I had a lot of patience. I didn't really need to use I didn't really need to use my computer for anything critical. So I took some time off. I said, you know what? I want to learn this. I want to learn it right. And that's what I did. While typing on the Dvorak keyboard, I noticed that the rhythm is a lot different than QWERTY. While typing on a QWERTY keyboard, I noticed that there's a lot of grinding while you're typing. But while typing on a Dvorak keyboard, the flow is more even and it's calmer. If I can explain it in words, that's what it'd be like. It would be very calm typing experience. It's actually very pleasant typing on a Dvorak keyboard. Once you get good at it, of course. When you look at someone typing on a Dvorak keyboard, they may not seem to be typing fast at all because you're used to all the clamoring of a QWERTY typist. But I've recorded myself typing on a Dvorak keyboard and typing around 60, 70 so words a minute. And it didn't seem very impressive. But then when I look at someone on a QWERTY keyboard layout typing around the same speed, they're slamming the keys all over the place. So that's another thing to consider. The fuss is not there in the Dvorak keyboard layout. It's more rhythmic, it's more calm, it's more even, Zen-like, if you will. So that's another thing to consider if you want to switch to a Dvorak keyboard layout. If you're used to a QWERTY keyboard, if you're already typing 60 or so words a minute, there's really no reason for you to quit QWERTY and relearn a new system. You're already typing proficiently, unless your error is very high, over 80%, under 80% typing accuracy, then I would suggest you switch to the Dvorak keyboard layout. But other than that, if you're already typing really fast on the QWERTY keyboard layout, there's no reason for you to stop and learn Dvorak just because you read online that it's a better keyboard layout. Now, another advantage or disadvantage, if you will, is the idea that a Dvorak keyboard is very much designed towards a right-handed typist. Now, that's bad for me. I'm a left-handed typist, and I've noticed that my right hand has to. You're on the home row, and you have to learn how to type specific letters with specific fingers. So I find it pretty difficult to type L's with my pinky because you need that for the Dvorak keyboard typist. So that's one thing to consider. If you're right-handed, you have good dexterity in your right hand, fine, that's perfect. Perfect for you. There is a left-handed Dvorak keyboard layout, but I'm already going against the grain by switching to the Dvorak keyboard layout. So for me to go further and try to learn the left-handed Dvorak, I was like, I'll just stick to Dvorak and see where that takes me. If you have a map, if you have a map of blank keys and you ask me to map the keys in a Dvorak keyboard layout, I wouldn't be able to do it. And that's very interesting because if you have a map of blank keys and you ask a QWERTY typist to map the keys, chances are you probably wouldn't be able to map it also. Now, why is that? Why can't you map the keys? Or why is it very difficult to map the keys? Well, when you're looking at the keyboard, you're constantly looking at it, okay, you may know the keys, QWERTY, QWERTY, but it goes out the window once your hands are on the keyboard. Once your hands are on the keyboard, it becomes almost automation. You know where the keys are. If my hands are on the keys, I know where the letters are without thinking about it. And that's what's important. Knowing where the keys are visually isn't as important as knowing where they are once you start typing. So that's a very interesting thing that I've noticed. That reduces the friction between your mind, what you want down on text, to your fingers. If you have to think, oh, where are the keys? Then, you have a little bit more practice to do. Obviously, some keys are harder to recognize than others, depending on the frequency of use, of course, like punctuations and special keys. I still have trouble with those keys, of course. Ask any typist really, where the dollar sign is. You probably have a hard time finding it, unless they're looking down on the keys. So that's another thing I have to work on, of course. Even after typing all these years, it's just not, how often do you use, the brackets? So that's one thing that needs improvement for me. Now, one of the arguments going against the Dvorak keyboard layout is that obviously you're learning a new keyboard layout, so therefore you forget QWERTY. And I want to tell you right now that it's true. You do forget QWERTY. So, for example, if I'm typing on the Dvorak keyboard layout, which I'm used to, and I navigate to a friend's house and use their computer or whatever, and I'm on a QWERTY keyboard, I would forget where the keys are if my hands are on the home row. But if I look down on the keys, I can type fairly well, around 20 or so words per minute, which is enough to get by. But here's the thing. How often do you need to navigate or share computers? Now, this isn't 10 years ago where everyone had a family computer. Everyone has their own computer now. Everyone has a personal laptop or a netbook or whatever. And we all have our personal devices. So I don't really have to navigate or use my friend's laptop or whatever. I have my own computer. So that argument is kind of not as important as it once was. So the idea of sharing a computer, having a standard layout isn't as important. That is, a computer is your personal device. So everyone is also used to typing on glass or typing with their thumbs on their phones. So another thing I've noticed about that is that while I have a BlackBerry that is in QWERTY, I can still type fine with this. And when I go on a Dvorak keyboard layout, I can type fine on Dvorak. So I thought about that. I said, why is that? Why can I type Dvorak fine, perfectly fine on a Dvorak keyboard, on a regular standard desktop keyboard? But why didn't I forget this? Well, it turns out what I thought is when you're typing on a phone, when you're typing on a glass or a smartphone, whatever, you're typing with your thumbs like this. So the motion, the muscle memory is much different. So when you're typing on your thumbs, you can know where the keys are, T, H, E. Okay, that's fine. That's all muscle memory. But once that transitions to this, the muscle memory is completely different. You don't use your thumb now. I mean, except for space, of course. But it's more like that. So even though the layout is different, you don't forget it because one is actually completely different than the other. The motion, anyways, the muscle memory is different. So that's another interesting thing I've noticed when I learned Dvorak. There are alternatives to Dvorak, such as the Comac layout, which is a modified version of QWERTY, very similar to QWERTY, just different keys. And there's also the Maltron keyboard layout, but that is very specific to Maltron keyboards. If you type very fast on QWERTY and want to try something, different, want to improve your typing efficiency or speed, I would suggest you go to the Comac keyboard because a lot of people say it's very similar to QWERTY, except better, I guess. And Dvorak is almost like another language. Think of it like, speaking Portuguese and speaking Spanish. That's much easier to transition to than speaking Chinese. So that's something to consider. Dvorak is completely different than the QWERTY keyboard layout. A lot of things that a lot of people claim as a benefit to Dvorak, as typing most of the English language 3,000 or so words on the home row, is true. If you're typing if you want to mirror this video, it would be T-H-E, T-H-E. So I'm picturing in my head T-H-E, Dan, T-H-A-N, T-H-E-N. So it's very efficient when you type common words. Very efficient. So I don't really remember what it's like typing on the QWERTY. The T is up here, I guess, and the H is right here. You're moving all over the place typing common words. But common words on the Dvorak keyboard layout is very fun to type on, if that makes any sense. You're having fun typing. Yeah, you can have, because it's almost like a rhythm. It's almost like you're making music. It's cool, So those are the alternatives. Obviously, the Maltron keyboard layout is specifically designed for Maltron keyboards, which you have to buy. You're limited by hardware, while Comac, the Dvorak, left-hand Dvorak. There's other Beepo is a French typing keyboard layout, but those are limited by software. You can remap a standard keyboard in a sense that you don't have to take the keys apart, and that's always a misconception with a lot of people that go against Dvorak. They say, "Oh, I have to switch the keys." That's not gonna do anything. You switching the T, over here. It's still gonna type in QWERTY. You have to change it through software. And most modern day operating systems today, Linux, Windows, Mac, there are keyboard switchers, software switchers that are in the spot task manager, taskbar, whatever, depending on what operating system you use, that can switch it instantly on the fly. So that's, those guys that say you have to remap the keys, then that takes away the point of touch typing. The idea of touch typing is so you don't look down on the keys. So I leave my keyboard, my Realforce 87U keyboard, great keyboard by the way, I leave it in the QWERTY layout for two reasons. One, it has different slopes. It's designed, there's different angles of slopes for the contour. So if you mix and match, it'll be like, really weird. And two, I don't need to look down on the keys. You gotta learn how to touch type. I type around 65 to 80 words a minute. To me, that's average. That's pretty good on a good day. That 85, that's a high side. But I think that everyone has a plateau. Now that plateau can be, I think everyone has a plateau, and is limited to how fast you can think. So after you type as fast as you can think, you really don't have that drive to get any better, because there's really no point. And going on these websites, they're good to help your proficiency. Don't get me wrong. TypeRacer's fun. 10 Fast Fingers, they're fun sites to help you type faster. But here's a problem I have with these sites. They teach you how to type fast while reading text. So what you're doing is you're really reading someone else's text and you're typing at that speed, which is good. That's fine. But how fast can you type on your own? Take away the text that they have to type. How fast can these typists really type? I bet 9 out of 10 of these guys won't be able to match their speed. Because think about it, can you really create content? Because typing is all about communicating thoughts or typing content onto a document or onto a text field. Can you really create content at 120 words a minute? I can't. I can create content almost as fast as I can think. So the friction isn't there anymore, you know? So why there was really no mental reason why I have to go higher than that only to compete with, these guys, that are really, really good. So to me, that was like my plateau. I can type as fast as I can think, and that's fine with me. The Dvorak keyboard layout is a keyboard designed to help you increase your typing efficiency and possibly speed. It's mainly designed for right-handed typists, so no, it's not a perfect keyboard layout, especially not for me. But in a sense, it increased my dexterity and improved my overall efficiency with my hands. And it's very important to keep your hands healthy. And I've learned this throughout the years in and of itself. Your hands make you money. Obviously, your brain makes you money too, but your hands are very important tools. It's very important to take good care of them. If you want to convert from QWERTY to Dvorak to reduce RSI, repetitive stress injury, then that's up to you. That's a good idea. So these are my personal thoughts on the Dvorak keyboard layout. If you want to try it, give it a shot. You're using your own computer now. We come to the point where everyone has their own computer now. It's almost like hooking up your car. Everyone has their car, their personal car. People do some crazy stuff to their car, but that's their property. So if you want to give it a shot, and here are the risks, and advantages and disadvantages. So let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, favorite, and subscribe.